Hey guys, third time lucky. Wow, wow, wow. But today I have Camilla with me, and she is a fabulous rock star, literally Grammy-nominated sacred music singer whose musical journey has taken her from the pop charts in Australia, Japan, and Asia to concerts and workshops across New Zealand, China, India, and the USA. Stay with us. Carmella has studied classical Indian devotional music, yoga teacher training, and Nada yoga in India, and enjoyed a decade of Western classical music training. What makes you think you're musical? And lastly, before you say anything, let me finish introducing you. She dedicates her life to helping people on their profound healing journey through her voice and music. Now you can say something. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm happy with that.
Oh, no, that's awesome. What a wonderful career you've had, like, all across the world. How was that experience for you?
It was quite amazing. What is amazing about it all looking back, because I'm coming to 59 this year, tomorrow. Tomorrow, 59. So thank you for sharing the last day. With the last day before
Back to sound like you're on death row. Thank you. I've had a wonderful life. It's only 59.
kind of feels like that. Getting to 60, they say you kind of begin again at 60. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'll tell you how it feels. Although I might need a weekend to recover. But yeah, so I guess looking back, I was very humble to music and just wanted to learn as much as possible. And so I sort of studied for many years, probably ended up being about 30 years of studying music, but by default, I ended up as a performer. And it just all kind of rolled on from there. And I think
How
that
do you land up as a performer by default? I'm just curious, like,
I didn't expect it.
check, no. You know how you go default setting? Tell me how that happened.
I wasn't expecting it at all. I just loved the process. I was at drama school. I loved the creative arts and I loved singing and I was always singing and it was kind of second nature. I didn't really know how to have a career. I just loved to do it.
Okay.
And then, people heard me sing and it sort of rolled on. I got invited to join a band and it kind of rolled on from there.
Yeah.
The band was successful and people were interested and it really didn't, there was no plan
Yeah.
whatsoever.
I would imagine the music industry was quite different then to what it is now.
Yes,
Yeah.
cowboys.
Cowboys. Oh la la. I don't know if it's changed.
Very behaved cowboys. I used to say that there were no rules. Well, it would have been helpful if there were, but I think that the people who were involved in creating bands and all of that wanted to be rock stars themselves, and they wanted to have that party thing going on. So it was a bit of hard work if you was, trying to focus.
Focus on actually creating a career for yourself. And that's so interesting because now your work and, touching on this, your work now is to help people find their voice.
Yes.
And it's interesting because so many people may think, well, I speak, so I have a voice, right? But I think when we say that to really be heard and to really allow ourselves to be heard and to really show up for who we truly are and be who we are, say what's in our hearts doesn't happen often.
No.
Right? And so and this is touching on that career of yours, like in your career, and please share this with us, you didn't always have a voice.
No.
So tell us about that.
Well, I grew up with a Lebanese father. Strong men, beautiful, provide for the family, but very, very strong-minded men. And he was also very religious, as like a Orthodox Christian,
Okay.
beautiful, language of Aramaic. And so, but he had opinions about how we should speak, eat, live, walk.
Because he was the
Patriarch.
patriarch. I was gonna say matriarch, but I was like, no, that's the female version. What's the male version again? Oh, patriarch.
We forgot, so what was that era again?
You said the patriarch of
He
the
was the
family.
patriarch, very, very strong, and so because of that, I had to find my voice at a very young age. I also had 3 brothers, so it was a very patriarchal construct all around me, and there was mum and I having to be very strong, or the 2 of us, we sort of, we had to band together and kind of
Yeah.
champion each other.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, but the twist was that Dad was always very supportive of the music, and so he was always providing these opportunities for me to come in and join a choir and, or to study opera, or he was always kind of there saying, "Hey, why don't you, try this, try that?" So it was like a interesting juxtaposition. On one hand, my relationship with him was one that I had to learn how to silence my voice. And then on the other hand, I learned to be creative and I learned how to channel that into self-expression. That's how I learned that self-expression was the key to health. And as Louise Hay talks about all those elements to well-being, love and self-expression is one of them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Isn't that funny though, like how you were silenced in one arena, which then drove you to express yourself in another arena? And I think sometimes that happens in our life. We have a moment or an instant where it does silence us, or something happens to us which ignites something that has to happen to ignite something else in us
Because
to
you
be
can't
able
be silenced.
to can't be silenced,
Because we
right?
can't be silenced.
Yeah.
We can try, but it will come out in other ways. So self-expression, it's like the skin is the organ of the lungs. So if the skin is playing, if the skin, so in order to be healthy with the lungs, our skin has to be healthy. If our lungs aren't clean, our skin won't be clean because the skin allows what's inside to come out.
Like it breathes, like it's a breathing.
Yeah.
How's my skin looking? Is it looking all right?
Yes, it is. In fact, your self-expression is good. For example, if children get eczema, quite often it's a lung. It's an expression of, sorry, what is it? Asthma and eczema are connected, which is very,
No, that's the intelligence of the body. I love that. Isn't that body? Yeah, so amazing. So you started singing, because I could digress down that road, but I want to bring us back to the original discussion. I love it. I have to be really mindful because I love wormholes, man, and otherwise I'm just going to go very deep down one.
as long as we can get back.
I know, right? My sense of direction as well is questionable, so I don't know. Um, so then you started singing as a young age, and you had that power struggle with dad, and then how did that sort of how did you find you moved into the music industry, and how did you then have to continue to find your voice?
Yeah, well, first I was in the Latin choir and the church choir, but I always loved rock and roll. And just was always in fun little bands and making music, and I learned guitar, and it was all I was learning about 40 to 50 pop songs to, just to sing. And then I went to drama school, and the drama school was in Darlinghurst in Sydney, and it was a method acting school. So I missed out on NIDA by one person. I'll never get over it. And so I just went, "Stuff you, NIDA," and I went to an audition for this beautiful boutique kind of method acting studio, which was pretty spectacular. Yeah.
What's method acting? I know it's a specific thing, but I can't quite remember what it is.
It originated in Russia with an incredible drama teacher called Stanislavski, and he created a very natural form of acting where we were no longer Greek tableau effect, or that English kind of using the upper middle class languaging
Okay.
and nothing else in theatre. He created a more naturalized form of theatre, and it was revolutionary, and Dustin Hoffman, Shelley Winters, what was his name? Stanley? Stanley? What was he? Marlon Brando. They all studied the method actings.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I know who Dustin Hoffman is.
Yeah, okay. It's going back. So it was a radical kind of theatre training. And amongst the school were Osho devotees, Bhagwan, Sri Rajneesh devotees. And we were introduced to the meditations. And so for 9 months, I did dynamic meditation every day, and it transformed me completely. It opened up the channels. So, Osho, we've had to segment him because he wasn't a perfect human,
Okay.
and we don't glorify him these days. However, he was a bit of a genius when it came to meditations, and he created the most radical, most extraordinary meditations, which helped us to awaken to Vedic culture,
Okay.
which is pre-Hindu culture. This is like indigenous Indian culture. They were sun worshippers, and, the yoga came out of that and all of that. So it was a beautiful introduction into Eastern philosophy.
So that's from your acting.
That was through the drama
Through
school.
drama school.
I
Oh,
ended
that's
up on a
interesting.
whole other trajectory.
You see, you were not meant to go anywhere else but there.
That's exactly right. And all of the beautiful techniques, including the dramatic art techniques, because I learnt the voice, beautiful theatrical voice techniques and musical voice techniques and speech and all of those things there. But the meditations were awakening something within me that led me to wanting to break away from the old paradigms, I guess, the 3D,
Yeah.
the old dimension, the old 3D dimension. And I left it all, and I gave up acting, which was a deep ambition. I was very ambitious. So it was like a noose around my neck, and I left it all and went to Byron Bay, where I meditated full time. Yoga, meditation, music, ocean, forest, and that was it for 10 years, like a whole decade of uh, just moving in another direction
Amazing.
and understanding community living, at its
Oh, well, you like living in the community, like a kibbutz kind of thing. Oh, kibbutz is like an Israel thing where you all come together and you plant things and live off the land. Was it something like that?
Yeah, we had there was many communities up there, different.
Communities or cults?
That's a good question.
It is easy.
No, that's a very good question. It's the question on everybody's lips at the moment, actually.
Why? What's happening?
Well, a lot of these things, a lot of these movements and communities were a little bit like the Wild Wild West, where people were leaving convention and creating something new
Okay.
and visionary. But it's still a little bit, people are still in there, like, that's a very Aquarian ideal. Come together, grow food together, share your wealth, and even, that kind of started emerging out of the 60s
Yeah. The free love.
and all of that.
Yeah.
And so we all tried that on. We tried our best. And we came to realize that we were searching for enlightenment. We were searching for perfection and trying to be the perfectly enlightened humans. And we came to realize that there's no such thing.
No, because who defines what perfection is? Like, whose definition of perfection do you go to?
Yeah,
Right?
there was a lot of different impressions of what perfection actually is. And, we say that people were living above the law, because they wanted to experience a new world.
Okay.
And so there were no boundaries. In the end, we all just wanted to go and live in the suburbs and just
Get away from it.
anonymity and normal. To integrate that into back into normal life or something.
Wow, that's
like that.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. And is that where you sort of learned Was it the Indian devotional music?
Well, that's
And
where the yoga just
the
took over.
yeah,
So the yoga, it back in the day, so that was the 90s. Oh, it was the late 80s,
yeah,
early 90s, and we had only about 3 yoga teachers, but classes were, like, full to the
yeah.
overflowing. So we all got obsessed and, put our heads down and practiced daily for, 7 days a week for years. And, yoga's deep, there's just so many elements to it. Once you do your asana, which is the posture element, then you've got all these other beautiful branches where you can move to philosophy, and then the different branches, maybe you wanna just stick with meditation, kriya, or you wanna get into bhakti yoga, and that's when I sort of discovered chanting. And well, it sort of, it kind of pulled me out of the perils of the music industry because it was pretty wild up there.
Okay.
And again, there was a lot of the masculine element, the party boys of the rock and roll scene, and, so it was a very interesting thing. So what I found again was that, I left the dramatic arts, I left ambition, ended up in music, ended up again in that same sort of, fame and, I don't know. We'll get back to that, but realizing that it was taking me away from my center.
Okay.
Yeah, and that whole pushing and feeding a beast that I didn't really, the rock and roll beast it's everyone will attest to that. It's a big thing.
Okay. What do you mean rock and roll beats? Are you talking about fame or
Well, they push you very hard. Quite often you get given a sum of money. But then you'll have to go on the road to pay that back. And, many artists have been stuck on the road for years. A lot went crazy, you know. Then you've got them telling you what to wear, how to,
yeah,
what to sing. They control, because if they've got the purse strings, they control the artistry.
I've heard that so often. I think it was what's the Aboriginal Jess Malvoy?
Mal Malvoy.
Malvoy, yeah,
Mal
Jessica Malvoy here in Australia, and she was signed up to Sony, I think. And she got out and said, "Man, they forced me to do interviews." She says, once you saved my voice, I was doing concert after concert. And they told me I had to do these interviews, and then I didn't want to because I wanted to save my voice. And it is like they push you really, really hard, right? And what was it? A Big Wronga, which is, I think, in New Wronga?
Yeah, beautiful Kiwi.
Same thing. She was like, because I think she identifies as lesbian. So, and they were like, no, no, you have to be the pretty girl and you have to do this way.
Always.
It's like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm lesbian, man. Like, I'm not doing it. So, yeah, it's interesting how it's almost a double-edged sword, right? Because you need those guys to help you get out. Well, this was
We
back
thought we did.
well, before the internet, right? It's before the internet,
Before the
right?
internet.
But then you did, but then it was such a yeah, they weren't certainly there to nurture your talents or anything. They were there to get the bang for your spirit, the bang for their buck, right? So even though you were out there using your voice,
Yeah.
you weren't necessarily
You're
being heard, right?
exploiting your voice,
Yeah.
and that means you're manipulating your voice. I remember that, I had a producer saying, "Put dollar signs up in front of your sheet music." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I just want you to remember the end goal." And I'm like, "Oh, wow. Okay." And when I tried that on, I actually ended up losing my voice. So that's when it was very, very telling. It told me that I had to find my integrity again in order to find the truth of my voice and the true resonance, and well, they call it your heart song, in it, where your voice just sorry,
No, that's okay. You can touch the
where your voice just sits in that happy place where your voice is resonating, it's vibrating, it's coming from your heart, it's coming from your soul.
Yes, and what I really like about that, and we may not all be rock stars, like, I walk through like a rock star, but like verbally, but I certainly have noticed myself when I'm out of integrity. And, we often say, You know how we make excuses like, "Oh, I'm so miserable in this job. It's a toxic environment for me, but the money's really good or the opportunity's really good." And how and coming back to voice, I literally notice how my voice thins. Becomes thinner. It's hard to explain, but it becomes thinner and it becomes hype. It becomes like a whisper. I can almost like so, you know, as how you say you talk, I mean, I'm a bit of a throat talker myself because I'm always hyper, but like they're real like throw when I'm grounded and in my power, like when I stand on stage, and even physically my legs up grounded, I own that. My voice is deep, but like not like deep, but
No, connected, connected.
connected, right?
Yes.
And I think we do that so often. We put ourselves out of integrity for the dollar signs, whatever that is for us. And yet, like our voice, we lose it. We lose ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, and I always say the voice it never lies, and I learned that having to do session singing or I was in the studio for 15 months, and so I had to turn it on every single day, and I came to learn that every day was different for the voice. Every day was different, and whatever emotions you were going through was reflecting in the voice. Whether you had your period or not was affecting the voice. What you ate the night before, what conversation you just had, whether you'd gone for a jog or you'd been sitting around the pool for 3, 4 days. Everything affects the voice.
So this is so interesting to me because I'm just thinking in real life, not that yours wasn't real life, but you know, in everyday life, in the personal development, spiritual space, I don't think anyone's ever said to me, "Your voice, you can tell how you're feeling or if you're in integrity by your voice." But yet, that's what I'm hearing you saying right now. And I thought, wow, that's incredible.
Well, you know Caroline Mace,
Yeah, I know
Anatomy of the
Caroline.
Spirit? Well, she would do in the original years of her early work, she would do phone consults and
Feel intuitive, right?
yeah. So she would glean everything from the voice.
Voice.
And I found that just wild.
It is wild.
Yeah.
So then when you were out of integrity, how did you get back? How did you
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it was divine intervention. It truly was because I was taught by a wandering sadhu how to chant japa on beads. And I was chanting the Maha Mantra, which is a beautiful Krishna mantra. We love it. We love it so much. Well, what it did for me was mind blowing. First time I chanted the Maha Mantra, because I think it was because I'd done, 15, 16 years of heavy, heavy, obsessive duty meditation. I was open. I was very open. Because of the yoga, I was very open and ready, to hear it, to really get the full effect of the mantra. So the first time I chanted about 8 to 10 rounds, which is 108 beats,
Yeah, that's right.
I felt uh, the most enormous masculine love I've ever felt in my life. Like God. It was God. I was calling Krishna's name. So we say Krishna is a name for the Father who has many names, many cultures. So this particular name happened to be Krishna, which accesses a very, very ancient and old, again, indigenous Vedic culture. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And I felt love. I felt more accepted than I've ever felt in my life. I was told, I love you for all of it. I love you for all the flaws. I love you for all the mistakes. I see every single thing, and I'm still loving you. And it was a fatherly, divine fatherly love that shook my body inside and out, and tears, and my heart was bursting open, and my third eye was exploding. It's just,
Amazing.
nothing, not even coffee, just that pure moment, psychedelic, unassisted, pure, divine energy and love. And from then on, I just became obsessed with bhakti and the yoga of love. And even more exciting for me was the fact that I just got asked to lead kirtans, and I didn't even really know how, but because I was a singer, I was just put in that position and I was taught a couple of kirtans and that just exploded, and that healed my voice.
That's so just for those who don't know what kirtan is, and I love kirtan. So bhakti is a yoga tradition, the tradition of love, part of the Hare Krishna tradition.
Yeah, it's, even broader than the Hare Krishna
It's
tradition.
yeah, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's I only know it through the Hare Krishna tradition.
Yes. Well, I mean, you see, it goes back 5,000 years,
Amazing.
and there's many different branches that exploded out of there, and then 500 years ago, a couple of extraordinary sages, in West Bengal revived it and, took it out of temples and into the streets, so you see the chanting in the streets and so on. And they were great sages, tremendously potent sages, and they kind of reinvented, I guess, modern kirtan, and that was 500 years ago. That was before America was invaded.
America was America.
Just before that, so 1492. So it was around that time. There was a Renaissance time,
Yeah.
and so the Shivites chant, the worshippers of Lakshmi chant. They're all doing it. Devi, but the Krishna movement seems to have a deep and unending resource of scripture and history. And you go to Vrindavan in India, the birthplace of Krishna and Radharani, who is the goddess, like the mother goddess of love. It's just there's potency there that it's about opening the heart. It's about the awakening of the heart.
Yeah, it's interesting because kirtan meditation is chanting meditation. So when you say with music, and I must say I've meditated for years, and there's not one meditation for each person. And kirtan meditation is the most potent meditation for me because it is vibrational and I chant. And it's interesting because when I start, as I mentioned, my voice sometimes is a whisper. I can hardly get a note out. But by the end of the first or second chant, it it I just feel it, like, it just becomes deep, and the vibration in me is so I always get super hot. I have to wear, like, T-shirts because the fact that I'm not stripping down naked is a blessing to everyone concerned, but I have to say that I certainly do wanna strip down naked because I get so because the energy really ignites me. It's like moves, it's the Shakti that moves, right?
It moves through all of the energy centers, and what they say about bhakti is it's all the yoga. It's
Yeah.
the pinnacle of the yogas.
Amazing.
And you don't have to twist yourself into a pretzel. You don't have to work hard in the body, because what we learn in bhakti yoga is that we're not this body. Ultimately, this is a temporary, beautiful, thank you, gratitude. This is a temporary body. But what we learn in bhakti is that the soul is eternal and can't be broken or burnt, or
Yeah.
it can't be stopped. And
Yeah.
where does self-expression come from? The soul. That's why I say that self-expression can't be stopped. It won't be stopped because the soul's natural propensity is to cry out, is to call out to the divine, is to call out to Mother Earth, is to call out to the people we love, is to cry for mercy, to beg for mercy, to call for help from the other world, to call to heaven. It's the same with the purest essence of Yeshua, Jesus, before Christianity. What he taught us in the Our Father, is hallowed be your name. Break the bonds of superstition, break the bonds of our attachment to our bodies. And
Yeah, so interesting. Like, this is so interesting because wow, because it's so if we follow the biblical lingo, we almost have false gods now that we worship, and it's almost like social media. Now, I don't ever want to diss social media because social media is a tool, right? So we're not a victim to technology. I just want to say that, right? And I think there is also this, yeah, we've created these false gods, right? Where we have sold our integrity, which we have sold our integrity for, right? And so we're turning to the wrong things to look for salvation.
Yes.
If carry on lingo, right?
Yeah.
So, and the consequence of that is anxiety, depression, which is constantly getting bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
right? So then how then can we help people out there who one may not even know that they are out of integrity? Because sometimes Lizzie and I, who's sitting behind the camera, thank you. Lizzie and I were just talking about that, and we were just saying, some people just don't know that there's more, that you can ask for more, that they just sort of stuck in their routine. And I said to Liz, sometimes I hear that and I can't believe that that's true. But I mean, they don't have they don't have the self-awareness.
But they're good people. They're
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's not that not
And
good
that's what I
criticism.
find fascinating is that these are good people who are trying to do the right thing, and so you in doing so are coming out of yourself to try to please and to try to cater to something that's not vibrating with you. And you don't know until you start to do work on yourself. If you don't start that work honestly, let's work on the shadow. Let's work on that wound. Let's come on, we've all got it. We've all got something. Let's acknowledge what's driving us. And what was driving me in the early days was that I wanted to please my father and I wanted to please the church because I was scared of of I was actually scared.
What were you scared of?
Oh, well, I was scared of being disciplined by my father.
Okay.
I was scared of being, well, back in the day, we didn't want to get, what was the word? When you're kicked out of the church? When-
Is it renounced?
No, that's when you
Oh,
renounce. But, oh, just excommunicated.
kicked out. Let's just say kicked out. I'd be like searching my brain for that terminology. Somehow it's not in my lingo at the moment. Anyway,
But we had those fears back in the day.
oh, so you were kicked out of the church.
And we were scared of that
Yeah.
because it was reputation and family reputation and honor and all of that. But through the grace of the crazy guru, I stepped back and I learned, okay, everybody's got a shadow self. Some shadows are bigger than others. Which shadowed people am I going to align with? And what with all of the pedophilia issues of the church, it enabled me to be able to step back and go, no, no, I don't want to be aligned with an organization that has been birthed out of truth and integrity and beauty and love that's turned into a corporation that's now telling me how to live my life when they're not dealing with their own shadows in the sacristy. And so I was able to get clarity on what was coming out of integrity and what wasn't. And then as I grew older, turning 40, turning 50, I realized I didn't have to cater to any anyone or anything that I sensed wasn't going to be of benefit to my spirit. But it's hard all along the way.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's interesting what you're saying is, I hear you saying that it's really important to use discernment, guys, because the wellness, personal development, spiritual X, Y, and Z. It's the wellness space is almost like the LGBTQ. I don't know what all the acronyms are, so forgive me, but the wellness space is sort of becoming like that now. It has all these labels to it. But that industry is worth $7 trillion globally, right? So it's a big money magnet,
Yeah.
right? So it's also really important to look at something and to trust your inner integrity and go, man, is that really right for me? Because I can tell you, I have done many things that haven't worked for me and I have felt out of alignment. But then I thought there was something wrong with me because I'm like, they're saying it's fucking awesome. So it's not working for me. So there must be something wrong with me. But sometimes these things are out of alignment. Sometimes they're just not good for you. And it is about trusting yourself.
It really is.
It really is about listening to your inner voice, your inner guidance.
Especially for young women.
And how do we do that though? Like, how do I know? How do I know it's not my multiple personalities talking to me? Then my actual guidance. Like, how do I tap into that?
We have to ask for guidance always from the highest. So we have to look, a daily ritual, a daily prayer moment with a candle, with a little notebook, with your deity of choice, with some incense, with a little bell, and go in and do some breath work and do some alignment work, align to particularly the Agya chakra, the eyebrow center is our point of prayer, intention, meditation, or, align yourself deep within and then ask
So,
for God.
so when you say align yourself, how do I do that? Like, do I like visualize a string lining me up? Like, how do I align myself?
You can just get aligned by walking into the bush and breathing like a qigong breath into breathing, feeling like you're drawing up from the earth, feeling like you're pulling in from the heavens and understanding that you're a vessel, like a bamboo beam. We are like a vessel through which heaven and earth can move through us. So we're like an instrument, I guess, an instrument of the divine, but we're also an instrument of the earth. Rudolf Steiner was very, very big on us not using too much electricity with music or whatever, because the clearer we could be, the more we could, because we're the same frequency as the earth. We share the same frequency. So when we align with the earth by movement practices, by breathing practices, by Taoist practices, by chi practices, by yoga practices, by meditation practices, all of those things will help us to come into alignment with our spirit. Breath work especially. Breath, what is breath? In Latin, breath is spiritus. So the breath is the way in, you know? So breath work, incredibly potent for alignment. Also, the other thing I love for alignment is writing and stream of consciousness every morning. Just let it out. And what you'll find is that it starts the self-expression process going. And,
Yeah, it's interesting. People will speak about journaling. I've done journaling on and off. It's not a medium that I particularly enjoy. I mean, I like writing, but I'm more of a I like talking. Like I'll talk to myself. Like I talk to the lamppost and to the dog. But yeah, it's interesting because they say that's one thing I talking about alignment. Everyone's like journal, journal, journal. For, it doesn't. It's not for me. Like I've done it every now and then, but so yeah, so it's an interesting one that comes up. It has helped a lot of people, but because I love communicating through my voice, I love just talking things out. It really helps me do that after meditation. I talk to myself. I will walk, and that's when my moments of insight come is when after I've meditated, I'll walk and I'll hear the with your future self, thank you for that. That's like clear. It's like someone's talking to me. I'm like, huh? Who's there? But it's just so true. Like, so yeah, I just want to say that because it's people rave about it, which is awesome, but it's not everyone's cup.
No,
Right?
it's not. But the thing is, self-expression can take so many forms.
Exactly.
It can be singing, it can be speaking, it can be writing, it can be listening. That is also self-expression, and that's a lesson I learned, God, through Landmark Forum.
Oh,
We all did the Landmark Forum journey. Um, that self-expression is actually listening. And I love that because we think, I've got to get into my self-expression. That means I need to express my truth, blah, 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 blah. But it also means I need to listen to the truth of others. And that's a tough one. That's
so let's explore that a little bit.
sure.
What do you mean by listening to the truth of others?
So say we're in a conflict situation and we want to be heard. We might raise our voices, we might get heated up, we might get, a little bit desperate, little kind of come out of ourselves. What's happening to the person that we're talking to? They're having to stop. They're having to withdraw. They're having to silence themselves in my pursuit of self-expression. So I have to learn to stop, to invite my person in that place of conflict to make sure that they're expressing themselves as well. Because how can we resolve anything unless we know what the other person's issue is? It's very simple stuff, but listening. And in bhakti yoga, funnily enough, there's we call them 9 practices of bhakti yoga. And the first one, kirtanam, is the expression of the Shravanam is listening. So, you might be at the end of your life. Here I am at the end of my life again. But in Buddhism, they say you've got to keep your mind on death. I think Paul Kelly said that in a song too.
Yeah, but interesting. But death, that moment just died. That moment, death could be anywhere. It's not your physical death. Is there's death all the time. The last second's dead because it doesn't exist. So it's not your age, babe.
It comes to very. No, but what I was going on to say was that at our time of death and we can't speak anymore, if we listen to prayers and we listen to chanting, or we have fortunate enough to have people sitting around us chanting, singing, whatever, then we are still receiving the exact same blessings and potency than if we had sung it ourselves.
Yes, and it's so interesting again about listening. So when I sing kirtan, and I remember was doing it every week regularly for a long time, and then all of a sudden I reached that moment when I heard my own voice.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a crazy thing. You think you hear yourself all the time, but you don't.
No.
You don't actually hear yourself. So it wasn't actually me talking. It was my consciousness, because I was the observer hearing my voice. And it was the most profound thing ever to hear myself. And it's so, because that meant everything else was silent. My mind was silent, my body was still, everything was silent. So there was nothing distracting me
Yeah.
from hearing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's hard to explain, but it was very profound.
Saint Augustine said, one who sings prays twice. So, we pray silently and then we sing, we pray. But when we hear it, we're also praying. Yes. We're in full alignment, the beautiful thing.
You can learn so much from singing and chanting meditation, I think. It's just really, as we said, listening to the quality of your voice, listening to or noticing where it comes from, hearing your voice. I think there's just such beauty in that. And so I wonder, because you said everyone can sing.
Yes.
Now, I think singing is like dancing, right? If you were to say, I would be up for it because I'm up for most things. But if you say to people, could you just stand over there and sing a song? Or like karaoke. People have to get blottoed to sing karaoke, right? Same with dancing. Most people don't feel comfortable getting up dancing, right? But you say most people can sing. Does that mean they can sing even though it doesn't sound good?
Yes.
Or like, what do you mean by that?
I mean that we've become far too judgmental as a society on the creative arts, and you can blame all those pop stars and voice and idols for that because it's showing the rest of the world that you have to be perfect according to their eyes in order to sing. Now, I'm sorry, but that's the crime of the century, I believe, because it is our birthright to sing. Now, if you listen to little darling little babies chortling on their own in their cots, as they get a little bit older, it turns into melodies. And they'll sing and rap for hours and hours and exhaust you. There's so much bubbling up, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the first day that we're born, all being well, we start crying a cry that is so loud. Our son gave his father tinnitus. His voice was so powerful, and it was powerful. Like sometimes you'd be having to, your ears would be ringing. Where does that power come from? Nobody's taught them how to do it. And when you watch a baby sleeping, they breathe in, the belly fills up. That's what we teach in singing. When they cry, their belly squeezes and draws down. That's what we teach in singing.
Okay.
So, my theory goes, and it's not just my theory, is that we were born singing. And we were born with a song in our hearts. Now, this is the inner song, okay? Now, if you have a daddy and a mummy who allow you to sing all the time and don't judge you, you will end up with a very, very amazingly beautiful voice. If you have a kid who encounters a lot of repression, who is criticized, they'll learn to criticize their own voice. Now, when we criticize our own voice, it creates a shockwave that goes through the body because the voice naturally should work, okay? All being well, the voice should just come out with it, okay? Now, that's because it starts here. We get an impulse in the motor cortex of the brain. That sends an impulse down to stimulate the lungs to take a breath. The belly fills up when we take that breath. And then naturally, as the breath pushes out, it strikes the vocal folds and creates vibration. And then it fills up in the resonating chambers of the body and it
Okay.
vibrates in the body. That's natural to everybody who doesn't have the inability to speak.
So if I'm not breathing
Naturally.
naturally, that means I'm constricted somehow.
And if you're about to sing or speak, especially speaking, and your mind goes, I can't do this. I'm bad. I don't have talent. Whatever. I mean, think of all the thoughts that can fly through the mind in a split second. What that will do is it'll shatter the vagus nerve. It'll shatter that pathway. That's just doing ourselves a disservice. And so when I run the voice workshops, the first thing I say is we're going to take off our shoes and we're going to take off our critical mind and we're going to leave it at the door with our shoes.
Yeah.
And we're going to jump around and be really, really silly. And we're going to give ourselves permission to make stupid sounds. And we're going to give everyone else permission to make silly, stupid sounds that might not be on pitch, sounds that might not be in rhythm, but we're going to bloody well make them.
Yeah.
And magic happens in that moment of non-judgment.
Yeah. That's really what it's about, isn't it? It's the acceptance of who we are, that we are love, and that we can just play in that space.
Yes, it's play.
It's play.
It's play.
Yeah.
And on a metaphysical level, if it's metaphysical, I think it is almost, we're in a static state. Our body, well, there's potential, right? When we start to sing, and you notice that like the more you do it and the more, by the end, by 2 hours, the voice is out. It's flying. You don't even you've no control over it. It's flying after a couple of hours. Because we're taking ourselves from a static state to a gaseous state. And that's why, people come in, kirtans, they come in with their baggage. And I'm sitting down the front, so I see it. Come in, they're carrying their load. Sit down, plonk down, not a lot of energy, tired, big week.
Yeah.
Anyway, start singing, and you see people, they're grappling with maybe the Sanskrit a little bit. They're grappling with themselves. They feel a bit uncomfortable, a little bit awkward, but they keep going. And when you're facilitating the kirtan, you have to rev that up. So it's like if you're not shaktied up,
Yeah.
they're not going to be shaktied up. So you have to make sure you're generated and in your integrity and in your alignment. And then we all start, and then suddenly all the individual voices and the individual I becomes one.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And everybody carries each other. And it doesn't matter how your voice sounds. It absolutely doesn't matter in kirtan. In fact, back in the day in the Hare Krishna movement, Prabhupada, who was the founder Acharya, would get the singers who weren't so polished, and he'd get them to lead the kirtans, because the point was that it's not about perfection. We cannot, the voice will never be perfect for us,
Yeah.
but the soul will. The soul is perfect.
Yeah, and again, I've had so many wonderful experiences at kirtan. There was a woman there, the ones behind me, and she was loving it and singing at the top of her voice, but she was so off key. And I remember, I just went in the going, huh. And it was really that
She was having the most fun.
she was having a wonderful time, but then it was really what was coming up for me is like, I wish she would just move, because if I can't hear myself, then it's hard. And all the stuff that was coming up for me because she was off key, well, and it was just quite funny. Then it's interesting. Then there was another woman who would lead the kirtan. I'm sure you know her, but I can't remember her name. Who can obviously not hold a note to save herself, right? But gets out there and fucking rocks it out, right?
Yeah.
And we all rock it out. And the first time I heard her, I was like, huh, should she be able to sing like again? Like, the judgment constantly coming up. And it's like, and then like, but then I'm like, maybe I'm off key. Like, who knows, right? Like, I'm having a blast. And I was like, but in my head, I'm on stage with like thousands of people admiring my voice, which probably sounds like a cat's choir. This is it, and it is, like, it's such a beautiful thing, but the nice thing about the music and the chanting is it just moves, and I don't have time to ruminate, I don't have time to it's, like, go into my head, it's just because I keep chanting, and it's just like the waves keep I'll think it in the music waves it out, and waves it out, and it's so amazing, and kirtan is the most potent form of meditation for me because if I do it in the evening, and I wake up the next morning, it is the only time I don't wake up with mental chatter. It's the only time I wake up with a quiet head. And it's quite incredible. Like, it is possible. I never thought it was. But and I'm happy
Yes.
and I'm peaceful.
Yes.
Like, I just like it, like there's vacant, like it's vacant.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
It's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
Extraordinary. And even a dog can benefit because they listen. All the beings, as they say in Psalm 150, everything that has breath, they talk about this time, the revelation, that let everything that has breath praise God. And I love that. And they say praise the divine. But when we're all going, something takes over. Soul power takes over. And we understand the nature of the soul is Sat Chit Anand, perfect knowledge, eternal by nature, and naturally blissful. And that's underneath all the layers and the layers of our karmic layers, our samskaras, which are in yoga, they're our blocks. They're the little knots that, the body keeps the score.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And those little samskaras, they can get in the way. And that process that you just discussed, that you shared with us, is gorgeous, because we often talk about what's going through our mind in a yoga class where we're performing a supposedly perfect posture. Does my bum look big in this? Does like it goes on and on.
The gamble is like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?
That's there.
And I'm like, could someone correct me if I'm doing this wrong? I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
And then I look at someone who looks like they shouldn't be as flexible as they fucking are. And I'm like, how is she able to do that? I'm not. And then I'm like, that's what goes in my head. But Keratin doesn't have that for me. It just like passes through. I love that. But just to wrap up, I just want to think of the audience, and I just think, what can we leave them with when they feel out of integrity, when they notice that their voice, like physically, is not where it should, is not the right word. What am I looking for? Is not what it is.
Yeah.
It's not authentic. I don't know. I don't want to say what it should be, but it's not in alignment with who they are. It's either high pitched, or I can't speak for men because I mainly, and I'm a woman. So, but I know a lot of women, they have very high voices, like, or even the way they speak. Oh, darling, sweetheart. Like when people call me darling or doll, I want to punch them in the face. But yeah, so what can we say to those people, like, when you notice, and what can they do to align back with who they are?
Well, there's the understanding in voice training that when we rush and when we're in our heads, okay, so when we're not in meditation, we will speak from the shoulders up, right? So when we rush and we're not in our bodies, right, we're going to be, and I'm like this, Gemini rising, so I go, it all starts, but it reflects up here. And I'm lifting my shoulders up, but what happens then is the voice becomes soft, it becomes inaudible, and I can't think about what it is that I want to say because I'm not down here. So, the first thing I do in workshops is I get you to drop into the body. We drop into the body and we breathe into the belly. And that deep belly breath is so potent. I mean, it's the basis for all the breathing in all the martial arts, in most of the yogas, in singing training, is to center your breath down to the bottom of your rib cage. So when I first learnt that, I couldn't fill my belly up when I breathed in, which is the technique. So I then learnt to expand at the lower rib.
Yeah.
So if you let's just squeeze. If you breathe in and expand at the lower ribs, right? Breathe in through your mouth. And as you breathe out, blow through the lips and squeeze the lower ribs together. And you can roll forward and let go in a sigh. And that's a beautiful thing. We can do it on the chair.
Okay.
I don't want to make too much.
That's all right.
I can't make too much movement. How I thought I hold it.
Yeah, they're pretty good mics, so they're not too sensitive. Yeah, they're pretty.
I might hold it down.
Okay.
So I'm going to make noise. So we're doing it in the chair, but we can do it standing up. You breathe in and lift the chin. Fill to the bottom of your belly. And as you breathe out, let go on a sigh. And you let the voice out. Now, if the voice cuts quickly, you know it's not connected,
All right.
So we want to until it runs out. But drop down into your lowest comfortable note. So when you drop down into your lowest comfortable note from your breath, it'll sound like this. A, B, C, D, E. See how low it's dropped? Now, when I'm excited and I'm all freaking out, it gets up here and there's no breath and I can't even get to the end of a sentence and I can't even sing a whole phrase, right? But if I drop down here, I can sing. for long phrases, and I'm just squeezing, drawing in, little by little, drawing in. So it takes a bit of practice, but it aligns itself with yoga, and it aligns itself with, or like I said, all the martial arts. But the other thing is to know your story, and this is why I encourage writing, because if you get up every morning and you write about what's been going on, you start to get a bit of a picture of who you are, what your values are, what you want to contribute to society, what you feel about certain, you know, your, I guess, global awareness, what your take on politics is, what your take on spirituality is, what do you love to do, what are your see, all these things are about knowing yourself, right? So that means when you know yourself, you're going to know where you don't want to go. And so I just find writing is incredible for that. And I don't even call it journaling. I call it just
Writing, yeah.
just getting it out. They say when you write, the angels read you.
I love it.
I love that too.
I do love it, and I love that about the voice thing, and just like expressing the voice out and seeing how long you can hold that, because that is a telltale sign for me of where I am emotionally. And sometimes when I do a kirtan, so I can't, like, even when I do the in the beginning, sometimes I can't even get through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I love that. And I think our audience can really take that with them, is that your mind will lie to you like anything. My mind is a pathological liar. Often I feel disconnected from my body, so then I don't actually pay attention to what's going on, or I suppress it with chocolate. And one thing you can do, though, is listen to your voice.
Yes.
Just through the breathing out.
Yeah.
And when the quality of that tells you what's going on.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, because also on a scientific level, so the impulse from the motor cortex in the brain, it sparks, it sparks something, right? So if you're freaking out, it's going to spark into your throat and quite often will send mucus or shut the throat down completely. So quite often, I did 25 years of teaching performance level singing, and all my kids would always get a little bit sick before an exam or a concert.
Yeah, the stress, right?
Throat.
Yes.
It was always throat infection. I'd be able to predict that. So the mind is very, very powerful. It will send those waves straight to the voice.
Yeah, I love that.
So if we can drop down, so mantra means to unlock the mind. So if we allow in the mantra to really take hold, that's what happens. It will allow us to see through the clouds of the thoughts, and just find that blue sky.
I love it. You did say you've got a concert coming up. Do you know the dates for that? Yes or no?
I haven't got the dates.
Because I would just say, I'm sure the audience is going, I want some of that. Because it sounds delicious. It's not a problem. We can always put it out where we can put it out where. But I think, again, like this podcast is not to inspire you. It's to inspire you to action. So this is really what I want. So I don't want people to watch this and go, wow, that sounds really interesting. And then not do that. Listen to your own voice. Like it doesn't take a lot, but it actually does take a lot. It actually takes you to stop and to be present, to actually hear yourself and allow yourself to be who you are, and accept that without judgment, right? But also come and give kirtan a go. Like, it's chanting with music. And and some people get totally freaked out by these things. Like, is it a cult? Man, who gives a shit? Like, if it's a cult that helps you, I've always like, if it's a cult, that's great. Come and join the cult. It's not a
It's
cult.
not a cult. That's got a bit of cult trauma, so that's I like to sort of break those things. But no, you come from all walks of life,
Oh, it's amazing.
and the whole idea behind, again, going back to the original Acharya Srila Prabhupada, he just said, "Just gather in your homes." Just, and that's what we do. We make it a part of our lives.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having a birthday party tomorrow night. Oh, welcome. We're having just
What did you? Did you say you're turning 60?
It's only 59. You'd think I'd be not freaking out yet, but it's a feeling like an ending. It's definitely the end of a cycle, 30 years of Saturn. Saturn returns around the first time 27 to 30. You got to watch that.
Sister, man, I don't know what you're saying to me right now. I'll stick to the voice stuff. But look, thank you, and I will definitely wait till your dates come out because I really want people to come and experience.
Thank you. Yes, I've
That
been
parents
running sacred voice workshops that we're just lining them all up, and I was going to have one at the Mossman Art Gallery.
Yeah, okay.
With their sacred voice, and that means that from the minute you walk in there, you learn how to release, connect to the breath, how to connect the breath to the voice, and then how to sing your heart out without judgment. And they're beautiful workshops. I've been running them for a long time, and I just get so much out of them. And as I was just saying a little bit earlier, these beautiful workshops, they're an opportunity for people to really learn how to sing without self-criticism. And once you topple that hurdle, everything opens up.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing, yeah.
Fabulous question.
I love those, thank you for doing your work. Like, again, something that's so undervalued and yet so valuable is the power of your voice and the power of being present to that without judgment. And that will flow. So I think that's just your work is so wonderful and so important. And thank you for sharing your journey with us. It's so fun. So come and join Kirtan and sit next to me because you'll practice your non-judgment right there. Maybe. I can't speak for you, but I'm just saying. Camilla, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
It's
Absolute joy. Thank you.
Thanks.